Welcome to the Aviv Levy podcast. I'm your host. My name is JF Benoit. I'm the best-selling author of Addicted to the Monkey Mind and Aviv Levy, An Adventure in Belonging. After 12 years of running a holistic addiction treatment center and decades of helping people who have been challenged with conflicts in their relationships, anxiety, depression, and even addiction, what I saw is that the common denominator of our pain and suffering is based on the lack of true connection with ourselves and with other people. Connection underscores absolutely everything in our lives. Whenever we're experiencing distress, when we're being reactive or experiencing triggers, the root cause is often a disconnection and a break in our ability to experience true belonging. So I bring a wealth of experience and empathy, creating a space where you could feel understood and less alone in your struggles. In this podcast, I want to help you tackle the belief that you need to change yourself in order to fit in. A belief that most of us have adopted in our upbringing that keeps creating a tremendous amount of anxiety in our lives. I want to inspire you and guide you to really shed that mindset. So welcome. I'm glad that you're here. So with connections with guests like you and interviews, I'm going to help you truly and support you to be your true self, to be able to let go of performing, let go of meeting other people's expectation, and most importantly, really gain the ability to shed all the self-judgments that we have about ourselves. And instead, really focusing on the resilient person that you are, on the courageous person that you are, and building this ability to experience yourself as this innate love and value that exists within you. So I'm really glad that you're here. Let's explore this together in another episode of Aviv Levy.
I'm wondering, since Aviv Levy is kind of about connection, like how that relates to couples and the different things that they can be going through in about sex. Like maybe one of the partners doesn't want to, and one of the partner wants to a lot more. What kind of how does Aviv Levy kind of help that kind of a situation?
It's so common, this dynamic, right, in couples that like once, one person says to the other, like, we don't have sex anymore and what's going
Mhm.
on. And then the other person, might even say, oh, I have headaches or I don't feel good or whatever. And it's kind of like this ongoing way of being with each other, which neither of them get to feel or experience connection, basically.
Mhm.
Um, let's flesh out a little bit, though, what's actually happening. Like, I know for me as a man, I've battled a lot with the fact that everywhere we look, right, the way society is sort of designed is it's like there's shapes and women and there's like this like you could be on a bus or you could be and somebody there's cleavage like right there and it's like right and you're
Yeah.
like and so as man it's kind of like I think unconsciously what we learn is just that we see these visuals that are everywhere
Mhm.
and we unconsciously are like totally identify mentally with these visuals. Okay.
Well, and men are very that is one of the things that they talk about, that is well known about men visually. That is something that they have to where women are more emotionally a lot of times, or not that the visual isn't something also, but motivated in a different way.
Absolutely. And so if we take a look at the male, the male partner's dynamic is that
Yeah.
there's an habit of connecting with those visuals, but then
Mhm.
building on to those visuals even, right? So you might take one visual to begin with and go, oh, what could I do with that? And it could turn into this fantasy and that fantasy. And
Mhm.
so then they could be a lot of that. And oftentimes that fantasizing is also related to tension in the body. Like,
Mhm.
so I'm experiencing anxiety at work and all of this stuff. And suddenly this visual has the potential perhaps to like, oh, maybe that could relieve some of that anxiety. Right. And
Yeah.
so the fantasy, the idea. And so then what happens to that, that male energy is it goes home and it thinks, hey, I got to do something. You got to help me
Mhm.
out. Right. It's just like, now we need
Mhm.
to,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
follow suit on this, right? and,
Yeah.
and then you tell me what your experience is as a woman, but it's like for the female partner is like, well, that's not really attractive, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, like you
Yeah.
said, where's the connection in that? I'm not interested in being your fantasy.
Yeah.
I think the dynamic that's very alive there is that the man keeps repeating the same patterns of fantasizing, experiencing some anxiety, and then expecting the woman to relieve the man, right? So it's kind of like if you're
Mhm.
able to have an orgasm, and then just like the man
Mhm.
will experience temporary relief, right? They
Mhm.
will be like, oh, okay, good, like life's better now. This has happened.
Yeah.
Yet this dynamic is also sort of energetically draining the man of his own energy. So, meaning like the man's fantasizing is exhausting, it's
Mhm.
creating more tension, not less tension. And it's
Mhm.
building up to like, okay, and then it builds to an expectation almost like, okay, well, we got to do something about all of this energy that is in my body. And then it
Mhm.
like puts that expectation on the woman, and then the woman goes, no, like I don't want,
Mhm.
who wants to have expectations be put on themselves? It doesn't matter what it is, it
Yeah.
never feels right. Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to invite men to understand is that we've been sold a lie in society that somehow sexual energy is something that needs to be sort of build up with thoughts, right?
Mhm.
And then when you're really, really like there, then you need oh, this relief from it, and then
Mhm.
life is better, and then it starts all over again. Okay,
Mhm.
so that feeds any pattern of addiction. Actually follows the same pattern, right?
Mhm.
So it's like I think of drinking, I think I'm stressed, I think this is too hard. Then it's like I build it up until then I start drinking, then I experience a relief. But what actually happens to the energy? What actually happens to the body? Everything just peters out, vanishes out. So as man, we actually haven't been taught to actually own our own energy that's happening in our body. And
Mhm.
the reason we haven't learned to do that is because we're over identified with thoughts. So as long as the energy keeps focusing on mental, right, then it
Mhm.
creates tension in the body. And the man is like sort of the victim of his own fantasizing.
But are you saying that that's not necessarily natural? Because it seems like that's kind of a natural state in some
I'm,
ways for
I'm
men
so
to be
glad that
more
you
visual.
say that, because that is how much we've been sold this concept that we think it's natural.
Mhm.
But it isn't natural. If you look at tribes that exist that don't have television, social media, any of that stuff, that haven't been conditioned the way we are, do you see
Yeah.
men walking around obsessed mentally about visuals about their women? You would
Yeah.
never see that, right? And so what's different about them is that they don't have this overemphasized mental fantasizing mind that just takes them over every day. They don't have that. Well, I think that women are trapped in a different way. Men are trapped fantasizing. Women are trapped by being attractive is the most important thing in the world. So confusing attraction, right? Physical
Yeah.
attraction with being wanted.
Mhm.
But those
Yeah.
are not the same, right? And so that's a big trap for women, because it's kind of like, well, if a man wants you sexually, does that mean that you are wanted?
Mhm.
Does that mean that you are loved for who you are?
Oh, no, they pretty much want anybody sexually. It's available, alright. No,
There you go.
that's not all men. I
Yeah,
don't wanna
you could
say
put
that
a
as a
you could put boobs on a pole, right?
well, I never actually took that as any kind of compliment. Like, that to me, that was not a compliment that somebody, kind of wanted you in that way or was having those thoughts about you, because to me, it had nothing to do with who I was as a person. So it was much more of a compliment if somebody appreciated either being around you because you were, fun to talk with, or because you had interesting thought, that kind of thing. To
Right.
me, it never meant anything to me coming from just purely that point, because that, you know, it didn't
Well,
have
and I
anything to
think
do with me personally.
well, and exactly, and I think for most women, that's really the case. Even if they're caught in a trap of, I want to be attractive because I want to be wanted, they actually can smell a man who just wants them to have sex with. And it's
Yeah.
not attractive to them. They will never really truly, I mean, a lot of them fall for that because
Mhm.
they're caught in this dysfunction of wanting love
Mhm.
so badly that they'll
Mhm.
sacrifice for just getting, attention. But that's
It's
not the same as
it
feeling loved, right?
it right, and it's not I feel like for women, a lot of times it's not there are plenty of women that are trapped in how they appear, yes, but I also think that there's more women who are trapped into feeling like they, are somehow going to help that person, and that's
Right.
how they're getting their value from it.
Yeah.
So,
Right, right,
there's a
right, right,
lot
right.
more women that I know that are trapped in that than the looks,
Yeah.
being all caught up in their looks.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Um
save this guy who doesn't know how to appreciate women.
Yeah. Going to change him. It
Hey,
will be my
ladies,
greatest
just so you
accomplishment.
know, yeah, ladies, just so you know, they're a lost cause. No, just
Well,
kidding.
yeah.
So let me go to some extreme here for a minute to
Okay.
illustrate what I'm sort of wanting us to sort of move around today in terms of the misunderstanding around sexuality and this tendency that couples have to polarize around, one wants sex and the other doesn't. We're talking
Okay, okay.
about couples that
We're
have been together
assuming.
for a long time, right? They've
Yeah,
been together for years,
yeah,
and so one of them comes up and says, like celebrating their own erection, right? So like being in celebration, like as if like, wow, look at that, like this is happening, and
yeah,
but then to the women with curiosity of, do you want to do anything with this, or is it just right now it's like not attractive to you or whatever? But
yeah,
notice I'm saying this, it sounds absurd, and I know it sounds absurd I'm not
yeah,
suggesting that man do that, but I'm trying to
yeah,
illustrate a point. The point that I'm trying to illustrate is that a man's idea of an erection is, now I need you to do something about it.
yeah, yeah.
Right. So it's like, assume that that's your role. Now
Mhm.
it's like, my erection is your job to take care of.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And it's just like, and this is how I get fulfilled. This is how my life is better and all of this stuff. And
Mhm.
it's so sad that we have been conditioned to believe that,
Yeah,
because there's no connection in that. There's no connection in, it's just kind of like, an itch, and I just need you to scratch my itch.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
and I can't take ownership for my itch. It's just like, please take care of it. And
yeah,
to the
yeah,
women, to women, it's like, what is this? This is like, please, right? It's like, if I was
yeah,
a woman, I would go, just get away from me, right? It's
yeah,
like, I don't need this,
yeah.
right?
You take
So,
that and you get away.
right. You go on with your
Right
bad
now.
self, right?
You know what you need to do.
Right, right. And so here's the thing, as men, what we are not aware of is that this erection is actually energy that lives in the body. And it's an energy that can circulate in our body. It's an energy that is able to move, right? So, for example, like in Tantra or in specific technique, even like in Qigong and all kinds of practices that are about moving chi energy, about moving energy in your body, right? If
Yeah.
a man was to like literally shake his body right?
Mhm.
While having this erection, what
Mhm.
happens is that the energy moves away from the thinking, away from the testicles and all that area, the genitals, and it
Mhm.
starts moving through the body, right? And as it moves through the body, then we're able to have a completely different experience of sexual
Mhm.
energy. It is no longer, it's like an energy that becomes like, wow, this is interesting. This is like, it's moving through me, and it's like, it's a powerful energy, right? That can be circulating through our bodies. Now, how many
Mhm.
men have you met who understands that?
Mhm. Well, it's not really something that's talked about very much, and it's not like, even when when this was gonna be the topic for today, I'm like, "Oh, good lord, okay." It's not like a comfortable, like, "This is I wanna talk about this, okay, let's do it," but, uh, it's just not something that's normally talked about in those kind of ways, and, um, so, yeah, it's interesting to have that because I don't know, I feel like sometimes men in some ways, more than just the physical part, but and I could be totally wrong with this, but I feel like that also is a way for them if they're not comfortable with emotional connection, that
Yeah.
is a way for them to get the emotional connection that they're kind of yearning for, but they don't really necessarily like some people, because I've known people who were kind of addicts in that way too, that didn't like I don't know, it's like they're yearning for that kind of connection, and that's the way that they know how to feel close, but then it hasn't really translated over into the other parts of the relationship because they don't
Mhm.
know how to do that. So I've just seen that in different men, I guess.
That's so beautiful that you're stating that, because I really do believe that it's been my experience as a man, and I
Mhm.
believe it's been a lot of men experience this, that it's like, for us, the sensation of, like, having intercourse and
Mhm.
being close to your woman and everything, it is
Mhm.
a form of connection, right? It is a
Yeah,
form of
yeah.
like, right? It's like, wow,
For
this is
women too. Yeah.
right, 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 for
Yeah.
sure. But here's the
Yeah.
thing: when there's also a lot of testosterone, there's also a lot of like raw energy that runs, within the men's body. But I think the piece that's missing here is that as men, we haven't been taught to take ownership of this sexual energy, and we
Okay.
come to the woman as if it's her job to take care of it. And
Yeah.
that's the conditioning of society, right? That's the
Mhm.
condition. And so as long as we keep subscribing to the fantasies, right? So even oftentimes men come out in the bedroom and they want their women to wear lingerie or to do this or to do that, or all of
Mhm.
this is a form of following fantasies in our heads that keep the energy up here in the mental and
Mhm.
in focused in the genitals. And that is not a way, right, to be in connection with oneself. That's a way to be in connection with fantasy. Okay. So
Mhm.
when men approach their sexual relationship that way, what they're completely missing is that the woman understands how to create the connection first. So, meaning the woman is able to take the sexual energy and go, yeah, that'll be fun, right? That'll be
Mhm.
pleasurable. That'll be really
Mhm.
cool, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, if if this space of connection, right? If this heart to heart, if this, if the, how could we have this experience if there's no safety in it first?
For myself, the emotional connection is much more important than anything, and having that is
Right.
what makes you feel like doing. But if you don't have that at that particular moment, and people are different, so just because I'm saying that, that's just me. They're
Well,
women are different, but
I think you speak for a lot of women. Like,
mhm,
think of it this way. How would you feel, let's say, if your partner came to you and had an erection or was just like
mhm,
wanting you sexually, and what they would do though is ask you, "Can I hold you?"
mhm,
And it's just like hold you, and then let this energy kind of move in his body, and maybe the man would like circulate this energy and everything, but then would focus on holding you. and
Mhm.
that the man could actually let go of any agenda to have intercourse or any other thing, but just would put the focus on like, yeah, okay, I am aroused, right? And what I want is just, oh, I just want to feel my woman. Like I just want to feel her. I just want to be close.
Mhm.
I just want, and they would just be like, however long that needs to take place. What would happen for the woman, you think? What would
Well,
happen?
they would feel that the intention behind it was that somebody just wanted to be with you in that moment, and
Our responsibility as men to bring safety in the relationship with the female,
mhm,
with this beautiful energy that's with us, and it makes sense, doesn't it?
mhm. It makes
I
sense
mean,
on both parties. It has to be the same what the woman is coming with as well. I mean, it's not just a male-female thing, it's just a human, um, thing. Like, for make sure that I feel like the women have to come without the agenda also, because it can go
yes,
both ways. Like, it's
absolutely,
and it depends.
absolutely. Yet, like, okay, I kind of hate to bring that up because it seems like a cliche thing to say, but it's very, very true though. If you look at, our history as humanity, it's like, the male goes out there and is the gatherer and kills the prey and whatever, it brings it to the
Yeah.
tribe, and the female prepares the meal and everything. And so what's the role of the male is really to protect the tribe, to protect the women, the children, right? Because the
Mhm.
man is like physically stronger and all of that.
Yeah. Mhm.
And with our times, I know that's changed. There are some women, there are some transgender, there's all kinds of different types of people that might be extremely strong, that
Mhm.
there's different types of female partners versus male partner energetically and all that.
Yeah.
Yet I still, for me, I noticed that I didn't understand as a man that one of the primary job into creating intimacy is to create safety.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it saddened me that men don't understand that. That it's
Mhm.
like, and you cannot create safety if a man keeps repeating the fantasy in their heads and expecting the woman to fill that fantasy. That's not safety. There's nothing safe
Mhm.
about that. It's actually just treating your woman like an object. And
Yeah.
women can pick that up, and no
Yeah.
one wants to be treated like an object. No one wants that,
No.
right?
No. Yeah.
And it's so different to, I don't think a man can achieve coming to their women and really understand what it means to create this safety if they have a strong agenda that the woman is supposed to fulfill. That scratch, right? It's like I have a
Mhm.
scratch now. And I see men struggling with that. Like they can't unhook from the fantasy in their heads, or from, they build it up, build it up, build it up. And then, of course, they get frustrated because they're looking for
Yeah.
relief. But what they're not paying attention to is the fact that their own energy is being drained in this process. It's an
Mhm.
awful feeling as a man.
Yeah.
Like, how many men, after they have an orgasm, they just pull away from their women, you
Mhm.
know? And it's just
Yeah.
like, so why do they do that? It's literally,
Yeah.
it's also physical. Their energy was drained out of them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so as
Good point.
man, we really truly haven't learned to circulate this beautiful energy that lives in our body.
Mhm.
And it's the, for me, what I'm noticing is that it's the doorway to understanding the feminine, to understand that the feminine carries so much love and openness and caring, right? It's an
Mhm.
energy of like, wow, right? And,
Yeah.
but it's like, in order for that to really, really take place, and for it has to be done in safety. It has to be done in an energy that says, I see this beauty, I see this love that you carry,
Mhm.
and I want to bathe myself in that. I
Mhm.
want to bathe
Yeah.
myself in this love. And then, if the when that starts that way, then the sexual energy comes in, and now it's like it can bloom in something radically different that's way beyond fantasizing, because the connection is one of the most arousing aspect of intimacy, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
looking in each other's eyes and being able to even laugh, right? In the lovemaking, to be able to
Yeah.
share whatever thoughts you're having, or right, or suddenly the male is making some sound, and the woman imitates the sound that the man just made, and it's just
Yeah.
like there's
Exactly.
so much beautiful exchange of energy that can exist.
Mhm.
And as long as the man, it's like I keep coming back to that, because it's like I believe that it's so important to help men understand, and I hope that women can hear this. There's a huge difference between saying I don't want to have sex,
Mhm.
and I think a better message for the man would be I don't feel safe.
Mhm.
So let's talk about that. Like,
Mhm.
let's talk about how together I want intimacy with you just as much as you do. If a woman said that to her man, I bet you the man would not even believe it. Because the man would just go,
Yeah.
you see what I mean? The man would go like, yeah, well, you haven't shown to me that you want me. Because in his head, it's like, let's have intercourse. So
Mhm.
how do you think it is for, because I'm suggesting that for women to ask for safety. What
Mhm.
happens to you when I say that? Like as a woman, what do you think? A woman that would
Um,
say that to her partner. That fair or
yeah, like, well, for me, again, I don't know that I am like every other woman out there. I don't know, but for me, I'm a Cancer, safety, and that type of thing. And with my family background, that's very huge for me. So I have to, like, I have been through enough stuff that I know I have to be really feeling it in the moment, insofar as being safe, insofar as being clear that nobody's trying to. I don't do well with peer pressure, never have. Like, if someone tries to pressure me, I'm gonna just like do no matter what. Like, I don't drink, and that's the same thing. I just have had it from a very young age, and I think I had an issue with it in a past life, because I grew. And this one, I was like, nope. If somebody's trying to pressure me to do anything, I'm gonna just not do it. And so, really feel like safety and feeling that somebody has your best interests at heart um, really matter to me.
well, and we do live, in a consent time, which I think
Yeah.
is so beautiful and so
It
important.
is. I was gonna
Yeah,
say that. I wondered if the younger generation coming up has a different in that way, if they at
right.
all approach it.
Well, I think that what we're talking about though is a layer deeper than consent, because what we're
Yeah,
talking about is two people who really deeply love each other, and they're in a relationship, and they're just caught in this dynamic of one keeps saying, "Hey, I don't want sex," and the other one is frustrated because of it.
yeah,
This
yeah,
dynamic is like very rarely do both parties can own the fact that it's a safety issue. It's not a
yeah,
sexual issue.
mhm,
It isn't. And it blows me away of how many, you know, even strategies that people trying to use, right, to trying to get past this dynamic are all forms of manipulation that do not address the issue of safety. And
mhm,
so for me, I'm thinking it's like the woman has to be strong enough to point out to the man that he's not bringing safety to the table.
yeah, yeah,
Men are unconscious. I don't even think man understands what it's like for a woman, right? It's like the
yeah,
woman is in the vulnerable position here, right? The
mhm,
man just comes, you know,
mhm, yeah,
and so and it's like safety is so sacred. It's like honoring all that's going on for the woman. Like if
mhm,
she's having emotion about something, like I noticed, oftentimes with my partner, I remember early on I used to think like she might start talking about all kinds of different things when we had
mhm,
said time to have intimate time and making love, and I'm like, why are we
yeah.
talking about the guy who works at the laundromat? Like,
Because that's emotional bonding, and
right,
emotional bonding is
right,
what creates a woman's want to do that.
And how
So
beautiful is that, right? So, but the
yeah.
man, when he's in his fantasy, goes, "Hey, you're interrupting my, this is not putting me in the mood," right?
Yeah.
It's like, come on. That is just, that's completely missing the point. And that's what I
Yeah.
mean. Men are stuck in this constant obsession of their own agenda, their own mind, and we don't know how to just like put that aside, just put all that conditioning aside, start circulating this energy in your body and put attention to where the woman is at and what is her need in the moment. If she needs to express emotionally, if she needs to cuddle for a while, if she needs
Mhm.
to talk about the guy at the laundromat, I don't know. But it's like
Yeah.
it's like the emphasis goes on, you are so precious to me right now.
Mhm. Yeah.
You are the, like, the most, you know, beautiful, feminine, loving energy. It's like that's who you are, that's who you embody, that's how you live your life, that's what you do. I don't know about that world that well, but it's like for man to be curious and to be open and to like let go long enough to enter this feminine world.
Mhm.
It's a game changer. I mean, it's changed my life to to have that courage to like take this, what seems sometimes very overwhelming as a man, to experience
Mhm.
so much testosterone and like whoa sometimes,
Yeah,
right?
it's a
It's
very
like,
real physical thing that's going through your
right,
body.
it's like I might
It's like
walk in the
anxiety
kitchen.
or anything else, like, you gotta do something with that energy.
Right, right. It's so strong. It's like I might walk in the
Yeah.
kitchen and here's my woman, and it's like I see something, she turns around or something, and suddenly I have this like, whoa, like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
how beautiful to have that energy. I don't think it's that as men that we need to repress that or deny that or any of
Yeah.
that. It's about taking ownership though of this energy and sort of like taking away the power that the mental has, meaning that we don't, as men, I don't think we realize that from that moment that we have this initial energy come through, that then we keep feeding it by going to the
Mhm.
mental, right? That's one thing
Yeah.
that's radically changed my life, is to circulate this energy in my body and then go for the connection with my woman and then see where that leads us, right? Like
Yeah.
approaching her and say, I really want to hold you right now. And it's just like, yeah, okay, great. Let's, and it's just like, if I, maybe it's a kiss, maybe it's a little bit more, maybe it's not. And but
Yeah.
it's like, it's fluid. It has like some interest and curiosity into the feminine, it's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I want to shake man, like I want to shake him and go, look,
Yeah.
there is so much beauty in women. There
Yeah.
is so
Yeah.
much. Women exude love in a way that men can't comprehend, in my opinion. I believe that we even fear that level of love because it's it's like easier to fulfill the fantasy than it is to open my heart to how much
Yeah.
love might be coming my way, because I'm not sure, right? Like we
Yeah.
have had no ways of, I mean, I think all of us wanted this growing up, but I don't think
Yeah.
many received this level of caring and loving,
You're right.
I think that the
Yeah.
sad part is, as men, we don't understand what we're robbing ourselves from, meaning that the connection itself that the woman is asking for,
Mhm.
um, it's like making love in connection. It
Mhm.
makes fantasizing look like nothing, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like the fantasizing for me is more like an itch and a scratch. And it's just
Mhm.
like, yeah, okay, well, how much pleasure can you get from a scratch? It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
ridiculous compared to when you are deeply experiencing the love that's present, right?
Yeah.
That can flow between two physical bodies.
Mhm.
Wow. Like, wow.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how much, you know, I don't know how many people are familiar with, but there's a lot of people who have much more, experience with this. But it's possible to have like body orgasm that are not focused in the genitals, right? And
Mhm.
that's what I'm noticing about that. The
Mhm.
female is not, because women don't have a tendency to fantasize like men. I mean, some of them do, but like
Yeah.
what you just said early on, it's like that's not what comes first, right? So for
Mhm.
them, it's almost like if men could understand that women could lead the way so much better,
Mhm.
like, and if women could take more ownership about the sexual intimacy and
Mhm.
literally saying to the men, look, let me show you how this works. Like
Yeah.
literally, let me show
Yeah.
you how we're going to start in connection. And you're going to
Yeah.
have to like deal with your erection for a while
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna have to deal with
because
that.
that's not what we're going right now, right? So it's just
Yeah.
like you're going to have to breathe a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
No,
But
for me, safety and connection is I mean, that's very important for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if I could leave the listener today with sort of a nugget, right, of wisdom, is I would invite women to take more ownership in and making sure that safety is there, right?
Mhm.
And maybe even showing the man if they know how. If they don't, then that's understandable, but maybe
Mhm.
get support from, there's a lot of teachings around sexuality and around connection and around safety and all of that, and it's amazing what it can do to couples who have been in that struggle
Mhm.
to actually make it past that initial both behaviors of one saying like I want sex and the other one saying I don't want any. And
Mhm.
that's not the issue. The issue is not sex. The issue is safety and intimacy and connection. That's where it lives.
Yeah.
So both male and female have to stretch out of their comfort zone to be able to get to that place of, okay, let's really address this safety and this connection, and let's find out how we can create that so that together we can now move into this sexual intimacy that we both want. I
Mhm.
mean, even a woman, when she says she doesn't want sex, it's not really true. What she would be
Mhm.
saying more accurately is that as long as I don't feel safe and nurtured and connected with you, I don't really want to have sex.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very different than saying I don't want sex.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that we've inspired our listeners today to go further with this dynamic and not keep buying into the same condition pattern. So thanks,
Yeah.
Gary.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to the Aviv Levy podcast. Click on the link in the description below to record one of the questions you may have that we'll answer on one of our future podcasts. Also, I'd like to invite you to be a guest so that we can support you in delving deeper in resolving some of the core issues that you might be dealing with. Don't forget to check out my link for my books, also our newsletter, online groups, and the weekend adventures that I offer. Again, it is extremely rewarding to be on this self-discovery journey with you and to actually get to experience a sense of true belonging.